Okay, CRMC, we just have 3 notices from CRMC. One is M and J Realty. These are all up in East Shore Road. This one turns out to be almost all the way at the very north end. They don't give us a very good locus map on these things anymore, but this is for a dock. It's constructed, oh, this is for boat lift, I'm sorry. Constructed, maintained, and 1,200 foot boat lift. So the dock already in place in the area, and they just propose to put boat lift, which is pretty common today. People that add boat lifts to get their boats up out of the water, especially if they're in the eelgrass area. So unless there's any comments on that one. This is on East Shore Road all the way up. I think I have my plat map here. Okay. Show you, no, let me show you where it is. All these are plat 4, you know, you told me the other day. 3, 4. Alright, this is plat 4 here. This is Cranston Cove. You know, when you go up East Shore Road, there's Cranston Cove and Wright's Lane right here. Just north of that is 101 right here. Okay, so that's that lot. And it doesn't, I don't know who the owner is. It's under M and J Realty Trust. So, but that's how it came. So it's that lot right there. That's basically for boat lift. Okay, the next one is for lot 9 on the same plat, which is. This is Evangelista, East Shore Road, Stephen Evangelista right here. Here's Wright's Lane, here's Reservoir Circle. Okay, here's the open field. You know, with a big house that was all enshrouded in plastic for a couple of years. That's Evangelista. They built a new house. It's to build a dock off of Plat 9. And 14-foot variance, length variance. That's because the length variance is, Coastal has a formula that says the dock can be 50 feet or 1/4 of the way across the water body, or whichever's less. So it's going to be longer than 50 feet, obviously, so they have to get a variance of 14 feet.
Why would they want longer than 50 feet?
Get them deep enough water to make it usable, probably.
Oh.
Yeah. And or to get around the eelgrass. This one has the eelgrass. This whole shoreline has eelgrass all along it. And a lot of times, with this one here, you can see that here's the dock coming off the shore. It's an L-shaped dock. There's no float on it, which is required in the eelgrass area. And here's the eelgrass bed right here. This is the one that
the elevation of the dock is quite high, huh?
Yeah, the elevation of the dock has to be 10 feet above the bottom of the bay to get enough light underneath it for eelgrass. So that's why these docks are all high. And that's why they don't have floats at the end.
Shocking high.
Oh yeah, they don't look as pretty as they would look if they were lower, but it's a compromise to preserve the habitat and allow people to have their docks. Right, anything on that one? Okay. Next one is Candace Knoll. This is on East Shore Road again. Lot 1, which is right here. This one is
the bugs growing legs fast. We talked about the centipede.
Yeah. This one's just north of Old Eldred Avenue. The community farm is over here, and it's just north of that, right here. And this is for the same thing. It needs a 21-foot variance for the length, and it's also a dock that doesn't have floats at the end. It's another eelgrass-friendly dock.
Too bad we couldn't give incentives for neighbors to share.
Share their docks.
Well, the only thing I can tell you...
It should be a financial incentive.
Well, no. The coastal program does encourage multiple uses of the same dock. But you tell me how many people those resources want to share a dock. That's the problem. They have the resources to build a $10,000, $20,000
all for themselves.
Right.
Well, maybe they get to build a little shack at the end of it or something.
No, Coastal doesn't. Coastal doesn't push that issue, but they do have it in their program that they encourage multiple uses of the same dock, just so we don't have a porcupine alley.
Just to encourage without putting everything forth,
right?
To, as an incentive.
Right. So, okay. Any questions on those? Okay. Okay. Conservation Development meeting. We had the planning. Kate was there. I was there. Maureen Coleman was there, and Carol Trotke was there. And basically, the way the meeting went was that there was a joint meeting between the Planning Commission and the Conservation Commission. In fact, Sav probably has it on your thing. If anybody wants to watch it, it was long and
I was away. Sorry.
Not real exciting. We met jointly with them, Tony Lakowitz, the consultant that we hired, was there. People had comments on the issues that were raised in those documents that we all received. Most of the evening was spent discussing whether this should be mandated or it should be voluntary. And the bottom line of the meeting was, and then Kate can chime in if she wants to, the bottom line of the meeting was that we didn't feel that the Planning Commission was adequately briefed on what conservation development was, or did they have a really good understanding of what it was. And that we all agreed, including the Planning Commission, that we're going to invite Scott Millar from Statewide Planning to come in and do the same presentation for the Planning Board that he did for us. And we told them and stressed to them if they hear the presentation, they'll understand it better.
Right.
And hopefully they'll understand where we're coming from.
It's totally straightforward.
Yeah.
There's no taking involved.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I think that, just to add to what Chris was saying, what I was taking away from it, that the heart and soul of some of the strongest resistance to get your head around it, gone from conventional to cluster to conservation, were those members of planning that the overtone was, this is a violation of my rights. I have somebody else sticking your nose in my pie and telling me what I can and cannot do if I want to develop a parcel. So part of the charge for Tony, which he was wonderful, in keeping it together, was to just keep bringing them back in to understanding what this is all about, and to try to step aside their, don't tread on me mentality and just take a look at it. And that's when we decided the presentation would really help, because there were a lot of questions that it was going on, and we just weren't equipped for an in-depth explanation as to, and one of the things for that presentation, as we know, is, yes, it's diagrams on a PowerPoint presentation, but then he takes you to shots of physical streetscapes of, and I think for that board, that would really help them see that. I kept saying it's not so much that, cluster development and conservation development are light years apart. Conservation is a finessing of all the right things and an abandonment of the wrong things in cluster development.
Carol, what?
I'm sorry, just one quick point. I was sort of out of the loop on that one, so I wasn't here, but and I can't remember what the specifics of the conservation model are. But with regard to subdivisions below a certain threshold that don't yield like 2 or 3 or 5, will that change? Because that is fairly important, because as you pointed out before, there, the opportunity to make large subdivisions, they still exist on Jamestown. We should identify them. But principally, it's smaller subdivisions, and they fall under even this, process or scrutiny. So it would be nice that if the model could include, or potentially we could discuss it, of lowering that threshold. Because again, you're not taking away, you're not preventing someone from doing it. You're just saying, hey, you run it by me first.
There is a threshold in there. I think it's 5. 5
It's
years.
5.
Yeah, it's 5, but that does not mean that we can't suggest that it be smaller. And that was
What's
one
the
of
big deal? We're not.
No, and I think what's going to happen, and I think after sitting at that meeting, and Kate, you can agree with me or not, was that we really felt that the people who were in there really weren't up to speed on what conservation development was. And they were struggling to try to understand it, but they didn't have enough background information.
We spent a lot of time watching them struggle, and then towards the end, it was suggested, I don't know if Lisa or you suggested it, Chris, to go through the drafts line by line, because we found out Tony's splitting for California, I believe it was, and it was like, this is it, now's the moment, we've paid him, he's been wonderful, expert,
everything was done.
da-da-da-da-da. I pulled out my May 27, 2009 letter from you to Lisa, saying what our position was on conservation development. Our charge has been, unwavering, and it's solid, and it's all here. I left early because I had to go to the airport. What was the end result?
But the bottom line was that everyone agreed that yes, a presentation by Scott would be very important.
Okay.
Mike Smith's dug in his heels still, but Mike's been around for a long time. He's a builder, he's a contractor, he's been town council president when I first moved here, so he's been around. But I think even he will understand once he gets the presentation that this is going to save people money. It will save developers money, because you'll be able to be more creative about how you do things, and it won't require